Hey everyone, it is November 2nd and it is story time. Okay, but I'm not going to tell you the story that I want to tell you because that's going to require a lot of editing and a lot of picture gathering, and I got to go through some archives looking for photos, but I'm working on it. And so in the meantime, I thought I would tell you. Yes? What? So in the meantime, I thought I'd tell you a different story. And the story sort of begins when I came out to California in 1989. In 1989, to the American Film Institute to do a 2-year master's program. So I have my MFA from the American Film Institute, graduated in 1991, almost 30 years ago. So, I graduated with a screenwriting emphasis, and I had written a script. I can't remember if I wrote it when I was in school or afterwards, but now I graduated in 1991, and in 1994 I sort of had an agent. Not exactly. He called it hip pocketing me, which means I wasn't officially signed, but that he would work with me sort of on the side. And so I had this script, and I said, you know, that when I wrote this screenplay, I had a specific actor in mind. And now this was 1994, and this was a very famous British actor who shall remain unnamed. And I said, you know, I kind of think he lives pretty close by to this one person. And anyway, so I talked to the agent about it, and he gave this script to a producer that he knew, and the producer really liked it and wanted to take an option on it, which he did. And I told him, I said, I think this actor just lives like literally above you in the hills from your offices. And so they actually contacted the actor's agent, and the script went to the actor, and the actor called up the producer and said he effing loved it. Loved the script. But now, not all actors are active in developing their projects, and this was one of them. So he just, you know, him loving it, that's as far as he was going to take it. He would star in it if they could get the money, you know, together. But anyways, nothing ever happened with it. However, we did have a meeting with that actor, his agent, and the producer. I think it was at ICM. I don't think he was CAA. And ICM stands for International Creative Management. It's one of the top 3 talent agencies in the country. And anyway, but it never went anywhere. That was in 1994. And we did even have a director who was very interested in doing it, but just never went anywhere. And now I think I should turn that script into a book, because I think it might work better as a book. Of course, I've been telling myself that for like 20 years, and I haven't done anything with it. But it's that kind of a story. So that's really like the only famous person out here that I really had a sit-down meeting with. When I was in film school, we had actors come through and sort of give lectures to the students. or just not even lectures. They were just more like somebody on the school administration would sit down and interview them or just talk to them. And let me tell you, they ushered those people in and out, and you didn't get close to them. It was not UCLA, it was not USC, it was the American Film Institute. And don't think I was rich to go there. No, I was poor, poor, poor. The only reason I chose the American Film Institute was because it was a 2-year program. Forgive me, I don't know where I was in the story. I've had so many interruptions. But I think I was at the part where I was talking about I was poor, poor, poor. And part of the reason why I was poor was because for the previous 4 years before coming out to California, I had lived and worked at a Christian camp. So, I mean, it was like a summer camp, but it was operational all year round for the staff that lived there. And I happened to live there. And there wasn't much money to be made, you know, but room and board are taken care of, and there was a small salary on top of that, but was not enough to ever pay for film school. Now, the reason I chose the American Film Institute was that I think UCLA was a 3-year program, and plus I was an out-of-state resident, so it would have been extraordinarily expensive, and I couldn't take out enough student loans to cover it. USC, a private university, definitely couldn't afford that. And the American Film Institute was a 2-year program, and I could take out enough student loans to cover it. And that's why I went. So I went for 2 years. I think I took out $23,000 in student loans. And, well, I took out the max I could get because I needed all of it. And I mean, it was all paid back like 20 years ago. But yeah, it was expensive. And in my class, I'm trying to think how many screenwriting students there were. I think there were like 30. There were like 5 different disciplines that they had, and each discipline had about 30 students. So I was in the screenwriting one, and one of the guys that was in the director's program, I think, was Steve Guttenberg. Maybe that was not the right name. I don't know. I'll have to look it up on the Internet Movie Database. But one of the guys did a short student film, because we all had to do student films, on that became the basis for the movie Secretary, which I think starred Maggie Gyllenhaal, and which I think he directed. But in the student film, at the time, he was dating actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, and so she played that part in the student film. And so that happened, and 2 of the screenwriters that I knew went on to work on the X-Files, and one of them became an executive producer on the X-Files. And there are various other little bits and pieces of people getting professional work. And of course, I sold my movie to the Disney Channel in 1999. I should also say, in the after me, Michael Landon Jr. was in that class. I think he was a directing fellow. So there are a lot of famous kids and rich kids in the school. To get into the screenwriting program, you had to submit a screenplay, and I had tons of screenplays. and I got in. I was, it was actually the only school I applied to. And so it was just a real blessing and a real miracle. And I should say we were all poor students. There are a lot of rich kids, famous kids. Oh, I know. I was talking about I had to submit a screenplay, so I did. And then I found out that some of the other screenwriters did not submit a screenplay to get in. They submitted poetry or something. And I just thought, well, that kind of cheapens it. So, and then you had to complete 2 screenplays while you were there. And I think I completed 4. And I think some of them only completed 1, and they still were allowed to graduate. And that kind of cheapened it. But for some of us students, we were poor. And right away, I met up with a guy and a gal, and the 3 of us are still friends, although he lives in Burbank, and she lives now in San Antonio. And the 3 of us just became fast friends right away, and the 3 of us were poor. In fact, they tell you when you go to that school that you cannot work. You just need to be in school full time. Well, that just wasn't reasonable for me. So I ended up doing a lot of temp work. Yeah, I missed a lot of classes. But that was the only way I could make it, because the student loans, they covered the tuition and maybe just a little bit else, but didn't cover me through the whole school year, certainly not through the summer months. So the 3 of us used to go to every film premiere at the American Film Institute that we could, just so we could eat at the reception afterwards. I mean, that's how poor we were. We depended on those a lot. Yeah. Anyhow, graduated in 1991. Next year, it'll be 30 years. And I'll probably have more to tell about that screenwriting and whole film school story, but yeah, that's about it for right now with that story. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.